Hello and welcome to our School at Home class in English Grade 7. We are in the third quarter of our set of lessons, and I hope everybody will delight in learning today with lesson number 6. Our topic for today is expressing one's belief, convictions based on material viewed. All the activities provided in this lesson will help you express your beliefs or convictions. After going through this self-learning module, you are expected to, number 1. Infer what happened in a given situation, number 2. Answer comprehension questions after reading or viewing the text, number 3. Express one's beliefs and convictions based on the material. For a start, do the following exercise. You can pause this video if you will need more time. Press play again when you're finished with the activity, and when you're ready to proceed with the lesson. Read each passage, and then respond to the questions. Each question will ask you to make a logical inference, based on textual details. Every day after work, Paul took his muddy boots off, on the steps of the front porch. Alice would have a fit, if the boots made it so far as the welcome mat. He then took off his dusty overalls, and threw them into a plastic garbage bag. Alice left a new garbage bag tied to the porch railing for him every morning. On his way in the house, he dropped the garbage bag off at the washing machine, and went straight up the stairs to the shower as he was instructed. He would eat dinner with her, after he was presentable, as Alice had often said. Question number 1. What type of job does Paul do? Letter A. Paul works in a bank. Letter B. Paul works as a lawyer. Letter C. Paul works some kind of job that requires him to get dirty. Or letter D. Paul works as a boatman transporting people across the river. Number 2. What type of a person Alice is? Letter A. Alice is a naughty one. Letter B. Alice is a very clean person. Letter C. Alice is a controlling person. Letter D. Alice is a very annoying person. Number 3. What relationship do Paul and Alice have? Letter A. They are twins. Letter B. They are strangers. Letter C. They are neighbors. Letter D. They are husband and wife. Crack. Thunder struck and rain poured. Max stared blankly out the window, trying to contain his emotions, that raged like the weather. He was beginning to lose it. Dropping the kite from his hand, Max broke out into full sobs. His mother comforted him. There, Max. We'll just find something else to do. She began to unpack the picnic basket that was on the counter, and offered him a sandwich. Max snapped, I don't want a sandwich. A flash from the sky lit up the living room. Boom! Mom sighed. Question number 4. Why is Max upset? Is it letter A. His mother is busy with her work? Letter B. It is so hot outside that could make him sick. Letter C. It is raining and he cannot go outside to play. Letter D. His mother doesn't want him to go outside and play. Number 5. What was Mom planning on doing today? Letter A. She was going shopping with Max. Letter B. She was going to take Max on a picnic. Letter C. She was going to work and she was late. Letter D. She was going on a trip with her friends. Here are the correct answers. Number 1 is C, number 2 is B, number 3 is D, number 4 is C, and number 5 is B. Previously, you have learned that in literature, any technique used to help the author achieve his or her purpose is called a literary device. Typically, these devices are used for an aesthetic purpose, that is, they're intended to make the piece more beautiful, and writers use literary devices to produce a special effect in their writing. Imagine for a moment that you have arrived at your house after work. All the lights are out, so you assume that you are the first one home. As you walk from your car, you see there is a package on the front step. Before you even pick it up, you assume that it was left by the mailman. You finally open the front door, and see that the living room has been cleaned. You then conclude that someone must have cleaned the room while you were at work. In each of these moments, you have practiced inference. Inference is using observation and background to reach a logical conclusion. You probably practice inference every day. For example, if you see someone eating a new food and he or she makes a face, then you infer he does not like it. Or if someone slams a door, you can infer that she is upset about something. Before you can begin to practice inference in literature, you should know what you are looking for. Your goal is to find the intended meaning of the text. Intended meaning is what we think the author is trying to teach us. Why is it important to make inferences? When writing a story, an author will not include all the information for us. He or she will expect us to read between the lines, and reach conclusions about the text. When making inferences, you are looking beyond what is stated in the text, and finding the ideas to which the author only hints. This makes you a more active reader and critical thinker. It also makes it easier to understand what the author is sharing with you. How do we practice making inferences? First, when reading or viewing, we make inferences by observing all the facts, arguments, and information given by the author. Second, consider what you already know from your own experience. Third, when faced with multiple choice answers, determine whether each is true or false, based on the information given in the passage. Your goal as you read is to make conclusions. These conclusions are not stated, but you should read between the lines to understand what the author is trying to say. Fourth, as you read, make guesses. Try to guess what will happen next in the story, what a character may say, or think, or even what other characters, not in the scene, are doing. Next, ask questions. Why are the characters acting a certain way? What are they thinking? Where are they going? What are they feeling? What do you already know? What is missing? Why is the author not including information? After this, you should make predictions. What do you think will happen next? How will a character react? What will the outcome be? And finally, you should find connections in the details. After you have made predictions, see what is missing or stated in the details, and make connections. Fill in the missing information using your questions, guesses, and predictions. We can use this 3-minute video by the phone company TrueMove to infer how the character feels, what are they going to do and why do they do such things. Let's read the summary of the video presented. After reading, we are going to answer questions by expressing our beliefs or convictions. The 3-minute video by the phone company TrueMove begins with a small boy being chased out of a pharmacy by the owner who has caught him stealing. She snatches the medicine he's taken out of his hands and demands to know what he's planning on doing with it. He replies that he wants to give the medicine to his mother. At this point, a man from a nearby cafe comes over and calms the situation down by paying the pharmacy owner for the stolen items. He hands the boy the medicine and tells his daughter to fetch him some food, too. After receiving the items, the boy runs off, and the film jumps forward 30 years, with the cafe owner still plying his trade with his daughter's help. Still helping the needy such as beggars by giving them free food. Suddenly, to the horror of his daughter, he collapses. She is distraught as he lays unconscious in hospital, and horrified that she's been hit with a £15,500 medical bill. She talks to the doctor who's attending to her father looking numb with shock. Desperate, she puts her house up for sale to cover the cost. The next scene shows her asleep with her head on her father's bed. Upon waking, she finds a new medical bill in an envelope next to her. The amount? Nothing at all. A note with the bill explains that all expenses have been paid, with 3 packs of painkillers and a bag of veggie soup. It turns out that the doctor tasked with saving her dad is the same boy that he helped all those years ago, after he stole medicine from the pharmacy. Giving is the best communication, states the ad at the end. After reading the story, let us answer the following questions. Do you think the man and the boy know each other? Why do you think the man pay the woman for the stolen items and give the boy veggie soup? Well, we can infer that the man and the boy don't know each other based on the reaction of the boy. The man paid the stolen items, and gave food to the boy because he knew that the boy stole the medicine for his sick mother, and he had no money. Since his mother is sick, the man thinks that there is no money to buy for food as well. How about the man's daughter? What is she probably thinking when her father helped the boy? Well, the girl of course has to obey her father, although she knew that they earn little from their small business. Even though she does not agree with her father, she still has to obey him. What do you think the daughter is thinking and feeling when her father collapses and is brought to the hospital and hit with a £15,500 medical bill? You are correct, if you say that the daughter might be blaming his father, even questioning God why they have to suffer such fate, even though her father is a good man, and does not hesitate to help those in need. And now that they are in a dire need of help, who would probably lend a hand to them? When the girl wakes up with her head on her father's bed, she finds a new medical bill in an envelope next to her with zero amount of bill and a note which explains that all expenses have been paid, with 3 packs of painkillers and a bag of veggie soup. Who do you think paid the bill? Yes, you are correct. It is the doctor, who turns out to be the same boy that the man had helped all those years ago after he stole medicine from the pharmacy. What do you think happened to the boy after all these 30 years? How was he able to become a doctor? Well, if you say that he became a doctor through determination and hard work, and promised to return the good deed he received from the man, by helping others also, then, you have a point. What do you think the commercial want to communicate with the viewers? Did the video succeed on the intended meaning? Through the video, the phone company was able to communicate that giving is an integral part of communication. As intended, the video was able to capture the true meaning of communication, and that is to share your blessings to others without waiting anything in return. At this time, you may now learn how to predict or infer what will happen next, why the characters acting a certain way, what are they thinking, where are they going, what are they feeling, what you already know, what is missing, and why is the author not including information. You can also watch the video in the link below. For the activities, please check the next video. Thank you. Read and answer the following activities carefully and honestly. You can pause this video, if you will need more time. Press play again when you're finished with the activities, and when you're ready to proceed with the next activity. Activity 1. Read each passage and then respond to the questions by encircling the letter of the correct answer. Each question requires to make a logical inference based on textual details. Question number 1. You have a dinner party and all the guests ask for seconds. What is the most logical conclusion? Is it letter A, the food is good, letter B, the food is terrible, letter C, the guests eat too much, and letter D, the guests are picky eaters? Number 2. When reading a story, it is important to refine the intended meaning. Is the answer letter A, look for common themes? Letter B, ask questions about the characters? Letter C, make predictions about the next chapter? Or, letter D, look for what the author is trying to teach us? Number 3. The idea that is suggested by the facts or details in a passage. Is it letter A, inference? Letter B, literary device? Letter C, logical connectors? Or letter D, poetic license? Number 4. You wake up and see tree branches on the ground and trash all over the place. What do you think happened? Is it letter A, it was a peaceful night? Letter B, it rained hard last night? Letter C, there was a storm last night? Or letter D, there was a war between 2 gangs? Number 5. A friend comes to school on crutches. What do you think happened? Is it A, he or she had a flu? Letter B, he or she had suffered depression? Letter C, he or she accidentally cut her arm? Or letter D, he or she had some kind of accident and was injured? Here are the correct answers. Number 1 is A, number 2 is D, number 3 is A, number 4 is C, and number 5 is D. Activity number 2. Read each passage and then respond to the questions by encircling the letter of the correct answer. Each question requires to make a logical inference based on textual details. Kyle ran into his house, slamming the door behind him. He threw his book bag on the floor, and plopped onto the couch. After 6 hours of playing Grand Larceny 7, he ate some pizza, and fell asleep with a slice on his stomach, and his feet on his book bag. When Kyle came home from school the next day, he was noticeably distraught. He balled up his report card, and placed it inside a soup can in the garbage. He then flipped the soup can upside down in the garbage can, and arranged loose pieces of trash over it. As he plopped down on the couch, he let out a sigh and picked up his controller. Why is Kyle distraught? He probably got bad grades. But how do you know this? Is it because letter A, he ate some pizza and fell asleep? Or B, he played on his computer for 6 hours? Or C, he balled up his report card and hides it? Or D, Kyle ran into the house and plopped onto the couch? Next, why do you think Kyle put his report card in the soup can? Because he is trying to dispose the evidence. He doesn't want anyone to know. But how do you know this? Is it because letter A, he ate some pizza and fell asleep? Letter B, he played on his computer for 6 hours? Letter C, Kyle ran into his house, slamming the door behind him? Or letter D, he goes through great lengths to conceal the report card? Number 3. Was Kyle's report card good or bad, and why was it like that? Kyle's report card was probably bad because he plays too many video games. And how did you know this? Is it because letter A in the text, he plays video games for 6 hours, and sleeps after eating pizza and does not even open his book bag? Letter B in the text, Kyle ran into his house, slamming the door behind him. He threw his book bag on the floor and plopped onto the couch. Letter C in the text, he balled up his report card, and placed it inside a soup can in the garbage. Or letter D in the text, when Kyle came home from school the next day, he was noticeably distraught. Anastasia sat by the fountain in the park, with her head in her palms. She was weeping mournfully, and her clothing was disheveled. In between gasps and sobs, Anastasia cried out a name. "Oh, John," and then her cell phone beeped. Her hand ran into her purse, and her heart fluttered. The text message was from John. She opened up the message, and read the few bare words, "I need to get my jacket back from you." Anastasia threw her head into her arms and continued sobbing. Question number 4. What relationship do John and Anastasia have? If you say they are boyfriend and girlfriend, you are correct. But how did you know this? Is it because letter A, they are arguing about something? Letter B, they are talking about buying a jacket? Letter C, they appear to be going through a breakup? Or letter D, they appear to have an argument about the jacket? Number 5. Why is Anastasia sad? If you say that because John and she are breaking up, you are right. But how did you know this? Is it because letter A, John calls Anastasia? Or letter B, John wants his belongings back? Or letter C, Anastasia is crying by the fountain? Or letter D, Anastasia receives a text from John? Here are the correct answers. Number 1 is C, number 2 is D, number 3 is A, number 4 is C, and number 5 is B. Activity number 3. Read each passage and then respond to the questions. Each question will ask you to make a logical inference based on textual details. Explain your answer by referencing the text. Mr. Thomas sat on the front porch of his house, in a bathrobe and bunny slippers, with his head in his hands. He was holding the daily newspaper. The sun shone brightly in the sky. His neighbors were coming out of their houses, and getting in their cars. Mr. Thomas sighed. His neighbor Mr. Rosencrantz stepped out on his porch and saw Mr. Thomas. "Did it again, huh?" said Mr. Rosencrantz. Mr. Thomas replied, "Yep." Mr. Rosencrantz chuckled and said, "Here, Mr. Thomas, you can use my cell phone. I could even keep a key over here if you wanted." Tom thankfully grabbed the cell phone, and called his wife. "Honey, I did it again." Mr. Rosencrantz heard Mrs. Thomas yelling at Mr. Thomas in a distorted high-pitched squeal. "Yes, dear, I'm so sorry. I'll see you soon, Mr." Thomas returned the phone, sighed deeply, and ran his fingers through his hair. Question number 1. What is the thing that Mr. Thomas did again? And how do you know this? Question number 2. Why will Mr. Thomas see Mrs. Thomas soon? And how do you know this? Mr. Erickson was a manager at a small insurance company in Minnesota. One cold winter day, April Mackenzie, one of his employees, approached him about some time off from work. "This job is very important to me, Mr. Erickson, but I've been called into jury duty. When my government asks for my help, I have to answer the call." Mr. Erickson rubbed his forehead. "We really need you here, April, but the government needs you more. Take the time. We'll be all right." Mr. Erickson had thought that they needed her there at the office, but they managed fine without her. When April returned a week later, Mr. Erickson noticed that most of her skin was bright shade of red except for around her eyes. Pale white circles ran from the top of her eyebrows to the bottom of her cheeks. These pale circles were surrounded by sunburned flesh. That's when Mr. Erickson knew. "April, step into my office. There are some things we need to discuss," Mr. Erickson said ominously. Question number 3. Where was April, and how do you know this? Number 4. What does Mr. Erickson want to talk about with April? And how do you know this? And, number 5. Why does April have white circles around her eyes? And how do you know this? Here are the answers. Number 1. Mr. Thomas locked himself out of his house. The proof is that he is wearing a bathrobe, and holding his newspaper. He can't seem to go back inside the house, and his neighbor offers to keep a spare key for him. Number 2. Mrs. Thomas is coming home to let him into the house. The proof is that Mr. Thomas is locked out of the house and she yells at him as though he inconvenienced her. Answer number 3. April was somewhere sunny, not a jury duty. Because she is sunburned, and courtroom is typically not sunny. Number 4. Mr. Erickson is going to discipline or dismiss April for lying to him. The proof is that Mr. Erickson sees her sunburned face and call her into his office immediately. Number 5. April was wearing sunglasses in the bright sun. The proof is the sunglasses are worn over the eyes and block harmful UV rays, so she has pale white circles ran from the top of her eyebrows to the bottom of her cheeks. These pale circles were surrounded by sunburned flesh. For the wrap-up, write down 3 things you have remembered, 2 examples of what you have learned, and 1 question you have about the lesson. In your notebook, write the things that you will undertake to show determination to succeed in your studies, despite the fact that we are learning in the new normal. Read and answer the post-test carefully and honestly. You can pause this video if you will need more time. Press play again when you're finished with the test, and when you're ready to proceed. Read each passage and then respond to the questions. Each question will ask you to make a logical inference based on textual details. "Tommy," Mom called out as she walked in the front door. "Tommy," she continued shouting, "I sure could use some help with these groceries." There was still no reply. Mom walked into the kitchen to put the grocery bags down on the counter, when she noticed shattered glass from the picture window all over the living room floor, and a baseball not far from there. "I'm going to kill you, Tommy," Mom yelled to herself as she realized that Tommy's shoes were gone. The first question is, what happened to the window? Is it letter A, Tommy installed the broken window? Letter B, Tommy broke the window playing baseball? Letter C, Tommy cleaned the window with a dirty rag? Or, letter D, Tommy left the window open and some birds flew in? Question number 2. Why did Tommy leave? Is it because letter A, Tommy had to run an errand? Letter B, Tommy had forgotten his baseball bat outside? Letter C, Tommy was in a hurry to play baseball outside? Or, letter D, Tommy was afraid her mother would punish him? Gloria was driving around the neighborhood in her pajamas. Every block or so she'd stop the car, hold her head out of the door, whistle, and call out, "Candy. Candy, come here girl." Then she'd start the car again, and slowly drive another block or 2, looking around from left to right. Curtis sat in the passenger seat. He was looking around too, but he held his head low. How many times have I told you to make sure that you shut and lock the door after you come in? Gloria reprimanded Curtis. Curtis sighed. He felt bad enough without her finger wagging. Number 3. Who is Candy and what are Gloria and Curtis doing? Letter A. Candy is a dog and Gloria and Curtis are looking for her. Letter B. Gloria and Curtis are having a walk with their dog, Candy. Letter C. Gloria and Curtis are driving to the park with Candy, their dog. Or, letter D. Candy is a girl who is strolling at the park with Gloria and Curtis. Number 4. How did Candy get out? Letter A. Candy unlocked the door. Letter B. Candy jumped over the door. Letter C. Candy pushed open the door. Or, letter D. Candy crawled under the door. Number 5. Why does Curtis feel bad? Is it letter A. Curtis lets Candy out for a walk? Letter B. Curtis doesn't like Candy inside the house. Letter C. Curtis walks the dog to the park and loses her. Or, letter D. Curtis knows that it's his fault that Candy ran away. Here are the correct answers. Number 1 is B, number 2 is D, number 3 is A, number 4 is C, and number 5 is D. And that ends our lesson on expressing one's beliefs or convictions. Congratulations for completing lesson number 6 of the 3rd quarter. Goodbye and see you in the next lesson.